So I don't quite know how to say this. I think if you're watching this video, really, you need to go find somewhere to sit down because this is quite groundbreaking. West Ham United are signing a footballer. I mean, I know it's absolutely crazy. In a transfer window, West Ham United are actually about to sign a player. I mean, Edson Alvarez is about to join. I'm thrilled. I'm really pleased. I'm sure most fans are with this because one, it's a relief, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's a huge sigh of relief because this is the position we've been talking about. This is the one that's really mattered. It's the Declan Rice replacement. And something that, I'll be honest with you, if you look back at our videos, Edson Alvarez is always the one I kind of thought that would be the best player for that role. Although obviously we've got Fofana, who's also, we've talked about, would be someone we could bring in. And that's still obviously a possibility. But Alvarez just seems to have that grit, that toughness, and just seems a really top defensive midfielder. And although it's been very painful getting here, we'll come to that in a minute, but I'm so glad. It's really excellent news. Edson Alvarez about to sign for West Ham. And I've got to be honest, I think a very good deal considering the fact that I think Chelsea were after him last summer and it was mooted around about £50 million they were going to pay and it was all kind of ongoing. So the fact West Ham have got this deal at a fee of £32 million, it is £32 million plus £3 million in add-ons. So £35 million package. I think that's a really good deal. Very well played actually from West Ham to get that done. 100 grand a week as well, so he'll be one of the top earners at the club. I mean, this is a good signing for West Ham. This is exactly what we needed. And it gives us what we, in terms of stability, that sort of that position we needed filling. It's been obvious that we needed this sorting before the start of the season. Unbelievably frustrating summer, of course, but it's huge signing. Also want to talk about where this all came from because this is actually quite interesting. It appears that in doing its rounds on social media and in the press is that this was a Tim Steidson appointment. This is the one he wanted. Don't get me wrong. That's good to hear. But actually, it doesn't. That's not the case. So ex-WHU employee has come out and given us some advice on this. And he's told us, actually, this was a Mark Noble recommendation. So Mark Noble recommended the player. The West Ham Way on Patreon, ex-WHU employee. If you're not on Patreon, by the way, go and check it out. It's fantastic. It's patreon.com/the West Ham Way, and you get all the news there from X. Basically, we reported this back in May, the interest in Alvarez. And basically that was because it came through, for the contacts and what have you from X. And basically it was before that Steidson was appointed. It was a Mark Noble recommendation. So Mark Noble basically put this forward to the club, has been pushing for this. David Moyes is now on board and Tim Steidson gave it the rubber stamp. So I've got to say, well played Mark Noble then, because that's a huge tick against his name, isn't it? For someone that's a young director, that the fact that he was the one that first alerted the club to saying this is the one we should be going for. So it's really good. Talking of them giving praise, I've got to say, Fabrizio Romano gave a compliment this week to, yesterday to ex-WHU employee on his coverage of this. And I've got to say, I mean, X doesn't really get many pats on the back. He doesn't really. It's one of those things. I think these ITK things isn't overly rewarding in that regard. I think a lot of people, if anything, they jump on their back when they get something wrong or something's not quite right and they absolutely want to hammer them for it. But when things are right, it's sort of like it's treated like, oh, well, that's normal. So it's nice. And I'll tell you what, it was some really kind words, actually, from Fabrizio saying that he's a big fan of X. So, really, really well played from him. All round, I think it's been brilliant. So it's come out that Tim Steidson gave the blessing. And apparently Tim Steidson's belief is that this is a top player. This is a really, really huge player for West Ham to get in. And it's the same for Fabrizio as well, actually. He was saying that this is a massive signing for West Ham. So, to be honest with you, look, this has been a bloody slog, isn't it, this summer? It really has. After a bloody slog last season. I know we won a cup, but come on, let's be honest. Last season was a slog. So it's been a real tough time for West Ham fans overall, apart from, obviously, the cup win, which was fantastic. But, yeah, this summer, my word, how painful. So to get this player over the line is pretty exciting, and I'm absolutely delighted. The key factor for it, let's be honest, is because this is the Declan Rice replacement, like I've said. So, I mean, I, for one, have always found it very frustrating that we didn't get this done earlier. When it was identified that Alvarez was the key target, the number one man, that's how they saw that was going to come in to fill the void left by Rice. It was just a feeling we'll get it done. I've actually got a theory on this. I'd like to know your thoughts, see what you think. And I'm not sure, it's nothing groundbreaking. I'm sure other people have said this before. But the fact we've sat back and waited. I know they'll say, yeah, but it's negotiated to have football work. But I do sometimes wonder if West Ham will leave it this late purely to save on wages. I really do. I do wonder if that's the angle. Because if you think about it, if you're going to sign, let's just say, 4 or 5 players that are all on 100 grand a week, as a commercial standpoint, they probably think, well, actually, wait then until then, because we don't want to spend 2 months paying these players because it costs us a couple of million quid. And you do kind of wonder whether that is the case. And you know what? I wouldn't put it past West Ham at all. But look, I'm not here to moan. This is certainly not a moaning video. This is a really positive one. Edson Alvarez signed for West Ham on a long-term deal. I believe it to be a 5-year contract that's going to be signed. Excellent. Absolutely excellent news. And finally, we can say now, tick that box. Declan Rice replacement, the defensive midfielder, sorted. And let's be honest, we're a very good player. My final thoughts on it are, as I've said, relief. More than anything, although I'm excited and happy, the feeling is actually just a sigh of relief. Because although I've fully expected West Ham to get business done, I'm not saying we were going to end the transfer window, not get anybody. I know that's been kind of suggested by some people, which is understandable. I get it, like when you're feeling quite anxious and down about what's been going on. But I've always kind of had the belief that it would happen. My frustration was because we were waiting so long, was thinking we're going to lose out on these players. Of course, Chelsea were in for Alvarez, were very interested. You've got Borussia Dortmund, are very interested. I mean, even that alone, the fact Chelsea and Dortmund are after this midfielder kind of tells you something about the player. This isn't someone that, we've got and no one's really keen on. This is a highly sought after midfielder, 26 years old as well, decent age. I mean, I'm really, really pleased, really pleased. Do you know what I really like about the look of Alvarez as well? One, he looks like a character. He really does. If you look at some of the clips of it, I mean, I know it sounds a bit corny, like, that's not like, in terms of just looking at clips, because I haven't done that. I've actually looked at watched the matches of him play and proper decent coverage of him. He does look a very good player. He's quite reckless at times. I think he likes a yellow card. But I'll tell you what I like about him. He looks a real character. And he really gets stuck in. Absolutely loves a battle, loves a fight. He'll fight for the team. He's got that sort of nasty bite about him. And do you know what? That is something West Ham have lacked for so long. I hate the fact we're too soft. I've always felt that we are. We get bullied. I remember last season. It was last season, wasn't it? Yeah, last season away at Arsenal. And we got it was, I'll tell you what, it was the game after the World Cup, wasn't it? We came back from the World Cup break and the first game was Arsenal away. And we were bullied. We were bullied all over the pitch. It was that Arteta nastiness, and he was screaming at the linesman. He was screaming at the ref. I think it was the game when he dragged that player. No, he dragged him back on the pitch. Do you remember when he got injured to waste time? It was really, really, I don't get me wrong. I don't condone that. It really wound me up. But when I was watching the West Ham game, if you go back and watch, I mean, you haven't got to do that, of course, because it's a little while ago and not the most happy video. I was absolutely fuming. But the reason I was fuming was the fact that we just allowed ourselves to get bullied. There was no leadership. We were just kind of just heads down. We couldn't cope with it. And when I watch Alvarez, I look at him. I think that's the player we want. That's the player who ain't going to tolerate that. Just think, no, I'm going to bully them. And I look forward to it. I certainly look forward to him facing up against Rice next season. I've got to be honest, because that's going to be quite an interesting one. So I'm really pleased with that. Also, then you've got to look at the midfield. So the midfield now, we're looking to revamp it. We've got now Edson Alvarez is going to be partnering Lucas Paqueta, plus another. Now, I don't know about you. I'm going to give my honest thoughts on this. The fact we are after another midfielder now, that's going to be a first-team midfielder, that's going to be now pairing with, joining Alvarez and Paqueta, means the way I'm reading this is that Souček's not going to be a first-team player, because I can't see how he fits in. And I've got to be honest, that is what I want to hear. What was it? The Leverkusen match. And I'm not, people were saying, you're just singling out Souček again. I'm not just singling him out, because there were poor performances all over the pitch. It was shocking. But Souček was appallingly bad. Again, just totally game goes past him. And we've got to move on from that. So I'm really pleased that West Ham are still pushing. We're talking about Scott McTominay as a big option. We've got James Ward-Prowse as an option. So it does appear that if you're going to have a midfield three, Souček's not got a part in that. And that to me is a huge sigh of relief, as alongside the signing of Alvarez. So yeah, really, really pleased. So I've got to ask the question, and I'm going to put this to the the viewers here, and obviously I want you to, and subscribers and everything. Oh, if you're not a subscriber, do subscribe. Free to do so, and you also enter a competition to wear a top, which will be a West Ham top, home or away or third kit. Let you know, but yeah, so do so. It's free to do so. Just click on subscribe. I do want to ask though, in regards to now the partnership. So we've got Paqueta, we've got Alvarez. Who are we having? Who are we having in that midfield? Now, let's just do the three options. We've got Fofana, Ward-Prowse, or Scott McTominay. Do you know what? It's not an easy one, is it? It's not an easy one. Fofana kind of is the obvious jump out one because I think people are excited by him. I've watched him play against Arsenal. He looks excellent. You'll see a video we did a week or so ago saying it was, or even less so, saying how good this player is. So I am excited by him, but there's also that feeling where is he going to be okay? Is he unproven and all that kind of stuff? Is that only element of doubt? Scott McTominay, I think, is a very good player. I really do. I actually really rate him. I think he's a very good player. And the fact he's been at Man United all those years and, you know, he's the best player for Scotland, I actually think he'd be a great addition. And then, of course, you've got Ward-Prowse. And again, another very good player. Just got man of the match, I believe. Well, I don't know if he got man of the match, but I think he should have been man of the match in the Southampton's first game of the season in the Championship against Sheffield Wednesday. They won 2-1 with Ward-Prowse setting up the late winner. So I still think he'd be a great addition, plus his free kicks and his deliveries. So, do you know what? It's not as simple, is it? It's quite straightforward. So I do like to know what your feelings are. Fofana, Ward-Prowse or McTominay, because that appears to be the options that are going to be where we're going to be heading down at the moment. That's what it looks like anyway. Look, it's a good day. West Ham United have signed a player. Absolutely, thank God we can say we finally signed a player. I think as well, it looks like there are going to be a few more rolling in. We look like Harry Maguire. Do you know what? I think that's going to happen. I really do. The more I'm seeing it, the more we've had from X and everybody else, it does appear that Maguire could really happen. So that's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. My gut feeling is Ward-Prowse. I'm going to be honest. I think that will happen as well. But that's just purely gut instinct. I'm just going with it. But I'll tell you what, from being such a dour summer, and it has been very tough, just like that, with one signing, the mood appears to have lifted.